All right, let's talk about why we're here tonight. Our guest tonight is a 9-time Grammy winner, which includes a Lifetime Achievement Award. He is a singer, songwriter, instrumentalist, and composer who's released over 60 albums in both English and Spanish, known for his many international hits as well as his iconic rendition of Light My Fire and the theme song to the hit TV series Chico and the Man. He's collaborated with an extraordinary array of artists and continues to entertain audiences in concerts around the world. He's here tonight following the release just recently of his latest album, appropriately entitled Behind This Guitar. Would you please welcome José Feliciano? Right here for you.
Okay.
And then we got a chair for you.
Oh, that's good. reminds me of the Johnny Carson show. Microphone and a couch.
There you go. There you go. Only I'm not getting paid what Johnny Carson got paid. But
no, of course.
That's another story. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm glad to be here. It's good to be here with my fans who have given me everything I have. So it's the least I can do, and I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, I want to start. Yes. Let me start by talking about this new record, and then we'll roll the videotape back when it's appropriate. But this record reunited you with your longtime producer Rick Gerard.
Yes, and I'm very privileged to be able to reunite with him. I thought that after doing the records that we did, he wouldn't want to work with me again, you know. But he said, you know what? I'll do it again. I'll tolerate it. And I want you to torture the people with our songs. And he came up with some great ideas. For example, we did a Lloyd Price song called Just Because. And it really,
yeah,
just because you, and we did The Chain, which I'm happy to say I didn't want to do it as usual. I'm always telling Rick, I don't think this song would be good for me. And it's Rick's job to try and convince me.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky that he has both, all the times. We have a great working relationship, but it wouldn't be very good if we weren't friends first.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky to have Rick Gerard as my friend. I'm happy that his wife is also my friend. And I love them. They're my family.
Let me ask you this: what is it? Because you had big hits with him, big hits. Your first couple of records. What is it about? What does he bring out of you that others might not?
Well, I think the most important part for me with Rick is his belief in me. He totally believes that I can take a song and do it better than the original. Because if I can't do a song better than the original, what's the point? The Point. That's an interesting title for an album, Rick. Rick is, what can I say? I don't want to, he is very unusual. He manages to get everything he can out of whatever artist he produces. You know, before anybody knew who Harry Nilsson was, he took a friend of mine's song. My friend was Fred Neil, who lived in St. Petersburg, and he used to come to the village in the summer and perform in the coffee houses. And that's where I heard of Fred Neil. And on the Feliciano album, I did one of the songs by Fred called A Little Bit of Rain. And you've heard the song?
Yeah, a great song.
And what could I say? I owe my career to Rick's ingenuity, his savvy with music. And when I first met him, you know, he didn't know who the hell I was. I didn't know who he was, but I was immediately impressed with the way his charm. He's a charming person, you know.
Because those were the days, by the way, when you first met him. Those were the days when producers were assigned to artists. You didn't have a say necessarily.
Not at all.
Yeah. So one day this guy Rick Gerard shows up, and you guys have to work together.
And in the beginning, I thought, oh shit, another producer, because my first producer was the man that signed me to RCA, and he was a good producer, but I was a cocky kid. And I thought to myself, oh shit, another producer. What am I gonna do?
Was that Jack Summer?
Yes, Jack Summer was my producer first. We did 2 albums. We did one entitled The Voice and Guitar of José Feliciano, and the other one was an album called Bag Full of Soul, where I did my interpretation of the Beatles' Help. And it was really cool. I had gone to see the movie, and people laugh when I tell them I see movies, but the movies of today have sounds. I mean, I really would have been fucked if I went to listen to silent movies, you know? But you can always tell what's going on in a movie by the music. Well, if I had my guitar, I could show you, but I'll show you when I get my guitar.
Yeah. So let me ask you, not because we're going to come back to the movies because it's very relevant for what's going on with you these days. But I want to talk about Behind This Guitar, and particularly the title track, because it might as well have been your life story.
Well, Rick Gerard, as usual, heard the song first when he was living in Nashville. And Rick, when we knew we were going to work together, sent me the song. And it was. I mean, these guys that wrote it didn't even know who I was. But I got to tell you, everything relating to the song I did. I would practice for hours. I was eager to learn by myself. We had no money, so my parents couldn't send me to a musical conservatory, and Juilliard didn't accept guitar as an instrument until Segovia came along and started doing his transcription. So Segovia was the Jascha Heifetz of the guitar, and that's where I took my instruction from.
There's also, I want to talk about some of the tracks on Behind This Guitar. There's a song called The Itch, which is a blues tune, which you've referred to previously as your favorite song on the record.
It is one of my favorite songs because I got to, you might say, do a duet with Santana, but it was me playing Santana's part on the electric guitar. And I'm sorry, I enjoy doing stuff like that because I know people, when they hear it, they're going to talk and say, hey, it sounds like Santana was there. And he was. He was there in spirit. His force was guiding me. And I don't know why you laugh at something like that, but I believe that the spirits of people sometimes get in your system. They come and see you. They leave their good gifts behind, and you enjoy them.
And certainly as musical inspiration, you know, people like Santana and others can certainly leave an imprint on your kind of musical vocabulary.
Well, I loved Wes Montgomery. I thought he was excellent. My favorite album is the one that has Wendy on it and Eleanor Rigby. I really liked his take on them. And I don't know, I made it up in my mind that I was going to try and teach myself every kind of music I heard. And I was born with the talent of mimicking. Whatever I hear, I can copy. And so that's what I would do.
You know, you mentioned before the Fleetwood Mac song "The Chain," which is on this record. What is it about that song in particular that attracted you?
Well, it reminded me of the old folk music days. And so I enjoyed it, and I thought, well, Rick Gerard was the one. He was a culprit on it again. And Rick said, you must do the song. And I said, Rick, it doesn't fit me. Well, it does. You try it and you see. And if it didn't fit me, I made it fit me. It's better doing that than disappointing Rick Gerard. And so I really, I had to do it because I have bills to pay, and Bill's head is getting kind of cold for it, But no, it was fun. It was a great album to do. I thank my sweetheart Helen Murphy, who is our boss, and we love her dearly. And all of my friends, my good friend Olga, who's here tonight, she's a great promoter.
Let's hear it for Olga.
And a great human being. Yeah. So, and I've always told Olga, Olga, as long as women remain on the bottom, men will always be on top, But she didn't listen to me. So, anyway, no.
Moving on.
Yeah, no. But I didn't want to embarrass her. I always have to make a joke at somebody else's expense, But this time it's my expense too. So, anyway.
Let me ask you about because you put an unreleased version of Feliz Navidad on this album, which has become part of the standard holiday repertoire for decades. But if I understand correctly, Rick Gerard also had a hand in getting you to write this song.
He did. He came to see me at my house. I used to have a mansion in California, I have to say, during that time. And I left for California in 1966, I think it was. And I played places in California like the Troubadour, the Ash Grove, and then the Golden Bear in Huntington Beach. And those were the places I played. I love that we had places like that. I wish they had now places like that for young kids to play, because that's where you hone your skills. You become very honey. And I'm a honey guy. So hey,
Rick,
don't look at me in that tone of voice. Okay?
So So tell us how Rick had a hand in the writing of Feliz Navidad.
Well, Rick told me one day we were working on our Christmas album, and Rick said to me, Jose, why don't you write a Christmas song? And as usual, I said, oh, Rick, I can't write a Christmas song. There's too many good ones out there, you know, Irving Berlin and White Christmas, which was kind of the national anthem of South Africa at one time. And so I didn't think I could muster that kind of writing, but I sat with my guitar and I swear to you, my fans, I didn't take me long to come up with a melody and the idea. And what I did was, so that the radio stations here in America wouldn't turn me off, I did it in 2 languages, English and Spanish. You know, and in English, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. And in Spanish, it was Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Prospero año y felicidad. And it's been around ever since. And,
Ever since.
Yeah.
Ever since.
And I think, you know, I like the new Christmas. My favorite new Christmas song is Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. I love that one. That is a great song.
So we were talking earlier about films. And
Yep.
and again, coming back to Rick Gerard, somehow it all ties back to Rick Gerard sometimes. If I understand correctly, he was involved in getting Quentin Tarantino to include your version of California Dreamin' in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I will tell you, I mean, in the moment that it shows up in the film, it's just genius the way your song, your version of this song, works in the whole vibe of that film. Tell me about, first of all, when did you find out that he was going to use it in the movie?
I found out in the weirdest way. My kids and my wife knew about it before me, and they took me to see the movie. And I almost missed my part because at the time, I had to go to the bathroom. I had to, as they say in French, oui, monsieur. So I went, and I got back in time, and I'm sitting there eating my milk duds, and all of a sudden, the song comes on, and I sat there in disbelief. I couldn't believe it. I was in a movie again, because the last movie that I did was a movie with Omar Sharif and Julie Newmar called McKenna's Gold. So it's been that long, and to get back into a movie, that's great. I'm going to start practicing acting, because I would like to be in a new version of Scent of a Woman. I think I could do better than Al Pacino. And it isn't that I'm better or anything than Al Pacino. I look younger. And I would love to do it because I think there are parts in movies for people like me who are blind. If you're going to get somebody in a movie, don't get someone to play the part of a blind man. Get a real one. And hey, listen, I could bump into walls. I can fall on my ass. You know, I can do those things. I do them all my life.
Just trying to figure out how I lost control of this so quickly.
Scotty, you didn't lose control, you gained control. We're in control, both of us.
Both of us, absolutely. Let me bring you back to California Dreamin', because you know, what marks your version of this song is there is this remarkable sense of melancholy that goes through your version of the song. And I'm wondering, for you, what does a song have to have when you hear it for you to want to cover it?
It has to have that melancholy feeling. It has to have a sense of loneliness to it, because that's what I've always had in my life. You know, I wasn't the most popular guy in school. No woman wanted to go out with me in school because they didn't want a blind date. You know? So I said, okay, I have to make myself better than that. And God has been so great without, you know, trying to convert anybody. The person that I admired the most was Uncle Ben's, because he converted rice.
Before we get into exchanging recipes, you made this. You made Behind This Guitar in Nashville.
Yes.
And remarkably, if I'm correct in this is the first time you recorded a record in Nashville. Is that true?
It is true. And I have to tell you, when I was in Nashville, we went, not to plug a place, but we went to a place called the Cracker Barrel. And
Very famous chain of restaurants in the
the
South.
waitress said to me, "Would you like to see a menu?" I said, "Lady, I'd like to see anything." How much, you know, because, you know, obviously Nashville, the long storied history of, you know, great musicians and studios and songwriting. Sure.
How does environment, in this case, affect your work as a recording artist?
Well, you need a good environment to record in where you feel safe, especially nowadays when some crazy is liable to walk in your studio and shoot somebody and those kind of things. I never thought, for example, that America would be like that. One of the things that I loved about this country is the fact we're free to say and do whatever we want. And unfortunately, because of political correctness, we are losing that right. And we have to do everything we can, ladies and gentlemen, to not allow that to happen. This is what made our country the greatest nation in the world.
I might suggest explaining that to the president, but we'll leave that for another time.
There you go.
I want to go back with you a little bit. I want to go back a bit. You first got a guitar at age 9.
Yes, I started guitar at the age of 9. Before that, the first year I went to a camp for blind kids, which was called Camp Cornwall. I started playing the ukulele. I learned how to tune it, and I learned how to play it. And the counselor who got me into the ukulele was a lady by the name of Miss Sibley. And I don't know if she's still alive now, but she probably now is as old as Nancy Pelosi. You know. But I haven't seen her in a while, so, you know, don't quote me on it. But it seemed to me, to answer your question, that it seemed to me that God did have a lot to do with what I did. Somehow or other, an instrument would wind up in my hands, and I didn't know the first thing about playing the ukulele, and yet the knowledge was in my hands. God somehow put that knowledge there, and God was pushing me toward music. I never thought I was going to have a musical career, but while it was happening, I was enjoying the run. I was enjoying the events. My mother was a wonderful woman. I'm going to see if I could have her canonized, because to me, my mother was a saint. And she did everything she could to make me independent. She said, Jose, you want to learn to be independent so you won't be a burden to anyone, and especially a woman. And so here I am.
Yeah. So, kind of fast forwarding a little bit, you end up playing in the coffee houses and clubs in Greenwich Village in the early 60s during what has commonly been referred to as the folk scare of the early 60s.
Sure.
Tell me about the musical environment that you encountered there and the kinds of artists that you met and shared stages with.
Well, to me, the most important artists were black artists. Their music, I don't know if it was because I'm Latin or what it was, but something brought me there. And I loved their music. I loved groups like the Drifters with Clyde McPhatter. I loved groups like the Byrds in the 60s. And the reason I like the Byrds is they became a group so they could compete with the Beatles. I mean, Roger McGuinn is super talented to do that, and I enjoyed them. I enjoyed Tom Rush in Boston. There were a lot of artists and I also enjoyed the Jim Kweskin Jug Band.
Yeah.
I love crazy things like that. And I'd go down to the village, and I didn't come home. At that time, I met my first wife, so, I didn't want to come home. There was nothing to do at home. There was a lot to do in the village, and I listened to Bob Dylan. And it's funny how your perspective in music changes. I mean, Bob Dylan was not the greatest guitarist. He wasn't the greatest singer, but he did have the gift of writing things that called people's attention to the problems that were happening in America. And when he wrote a song that I always will remember called Hattie Carroll, which was the story of a woman who I guess came to the States and she killed somebody defending herself, and yet the judge was not lenient at all with her. And I said, wow, this guy has a lot to say. And I haven't seen Bob Dylan, I haven't seen Bob Dylan in years, but I always feel that because we spent a little time at Gertie's, and at the time too, I wasn't even a drinker. I used to drink grasshoppers, and Bob and I became friends, and I'm hoping, I don't know if he's watching this streaming, but I hope
Could be.
that if he is, he'll remember those good times, and he can say, I know Jose when he wasn't Jose. And that'll be the highest compliment I could get.
Yeah. We talked earlier about your first producer, this guy Jack Summer at RCA, who was the first guy, the A&R guy that signed you. And the first album you did with them had this remarkable variety of genres and styles.
Definitely.
You had High Heel Sneakers, I think, was the single.
Yeah, I think, I don't mean to interrupt you, you know, but
That's why I'm here.
yeah, because I don't want you to misconstrue what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah.
I did a version of High Heel Sneakers on an album called Bag Full of Soul. And that was my favorite version because I got it together with Ray Brown, who to me,
That's a good one.
he was the god of the upright bass. Now I know there are others like Ron Carter is good and Cleveland Williams is also good, but they ain't Ray Brown. Ray Brown too was given a gift.
How speaking of guys like Ray Brown and perhaps others that you've collaborated with, what does having a great musician like that working with you, how does that inspire you?
It elevated me to a different thing. I felt blessed that somebody like that was interested in a cocky kid like José Feliciano. And I've never forgotten him. He's always in my heart. And I have to thank him for what he did for me.
Yeah. You know, your first couple of releases, they probably didn't achieve the success that perhaps you desired. And you went to South America. You were in Argentina for a performance, and some RCA executives down there wanted you to record a record down there. But you determined to do something a little bit different. What did you tell them you wanted to do?
I told them I want to do a Spanish album of boleros. Boleros are the Latin version of torch songs. You know, like when Frank Sinatra would sing songs with people like Axel Stordahl, who was a magnificent ranger, the girls could not help but go crazy for him because his voice was like silk. You couldn't tell that he smoked Lucky Strikes. and he was a genius in his day. Frank Sinatra was a genius of his times. And I loved his music very much. And I learned a lot of things from it. A young kid like me wasn't supposed to be listening to that kind of music because, you know, I enjoyed the rock and roll, as I just told you. I enjoyed people like Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, or I enjoyed Bobby Darin, whom I think he was a chameleon. He could do anything, and I enjoyed performers like that stood out and could continue. And I hope, with the Lord's help, that I can continue and see where my career takes me. Maybe it won't take me any farther than I've gone, but it'll be a joy to keep trying.
Yeah, hear, 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 hear. So you do this album of boleros. The album gets released, and the next thing you know is you are the biggest thing in Central and South America.
I was. I couldn't believe it. When I'd be introduced to sing, it was like you couldn't hear my music with all the female screams. And to tell you the truth, it was a little embarrassing to me because I never felt I was of that quality. I was José Feliciano, a guy who plays guitar and sings, but I didn't feel I was of the same caliber to warrant such a reaction. But there it was. And the funniest thing for me was learning to run into a limousine.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was that there was that fan reaction, this incredible reaction to your music.
Well, I was thin, sort of like I am now, and I looked a little scrawny then, and all the chicks I think felt sorry for me, and they wanted to take me home with them, and I wanted to go. But I couldn't. But I enjoyed it. I really did. What the hell? It's something I could talk about, like now, for example.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Did you ever consider? I mean, given the success, and there was considerable success, you were the biggest thing. Central America, South America, the Caribbean. Did you ever consider literally just kind of relocating there and making your career in South America?
No, because I didn't want to leave my America. And
when you came back to the States, was the goal for you to achieve the kind of success you achieved in South America in the U.S.?
yeah, but you wouldn't know it in America. I was always, I shouldn't say this, but it's true. I was always underrated here in America. And I learned to live with it because you can't be a prophet in your own land. And so I understand it, but it didn't discourage me to where I say, you know what? I'm not going to play my music anymore. The hell with it. And I didn't. Instead, I kept on, and I'm still keeping on.
Here, 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 here. So you came back to the States. You're still signed to RCA. As I said, they assign you Rick Girard. This is how you met Rick Girard. Tell me how, because I think you were resistant to it. Tell me how you came to Light My Fire.
Well, we were working on our pop album. We did songs like Lasting on My Mind, which was written by Tom Paxton.
Great song, by the way.
We covered In My Life, which was written by the Beatles, and we had a flute player who played the recorder also, and his name was Jim Horn. And Jim was sensational. George Tipton, the arranger, did the string arrangements, and we set up a romantic atmosphere that couldn't be beat. If guys wanted to be successful with chicks, they carried the Feliciano album with them. It was their Viagra, you know.
And I knew I was missing something.
Well, listen to the album. You won't be...
So back to Light My Fire. How did you find Light My Fire?
Well, I liked the music of the Doors. I thought they were inventive, and I thought, maybe if I record Light My Fire, as Rick Girard has suggested, I might get to meet them. Well, I never met them. I met Ainsley Dunbar, the drummer, and I met, but I didn't meet Ray Manzarek, because it was his idea. He was a great jazz piano player, I believe, and I forget who played the guitar, but he was good too.
Robbie Krieger.
Robbie Krieger. And he showed me what he could do on the guitar when I heard him play little bits of Leyenda on a record. A caravan, caravan, take me to Spain. Caravan, da 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 dee da da da. And then he would play tum 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 till dum tum tum tum, which is a piano written by, a piano piece written by Albéniz, great writer in Spain.
So then you decide, or Rick decides, somebody decides, that you should take on Light My Fire.
Yep. And Rick had heard my version at the Golden Bear.
I am dogged, if nothing else.
No, he heard my version at the Golden Bear. And he said, Jose, you should, I think you have a good version of Light My Fire. Let's record it. And we went back and forth for a little bit, and then I said, okay. And the rest is history. I mean, when Light My Fire came out on the backside of California Dreamin', the disc jockeys turned it over. It was the first time I've been turned over. And so it was interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, that goes on as to this incredible worldwide hit. Fair warning, I'm going to ask for a couple questions from the house here.
Fine.
Just a couple more.
Just
questions.
raise your hands.
Yeah. couple more questions. At the time, I believe that after the Feliciano record and Light My Fire, to a greater or lesser degree, California Dreamin', you were quoted as saying that you weren't a pop musician, you weren't a jazz musician, you were a musician, period. Why was that important to you?
I still believe that today. I'm just a musician, really. I don't know. I think it was trying to be modest, trying not to let my ego rule my sense of thinking, and that's what I've always felt. I'm just a musician. It's like, how is a hat? What's difference, rather? The difference between a hat and a kiss over the telephone?
I don't know.
It isn't felt.
You heard it here first.
You see, you didn't know that, did you?
No, I did not. You had me. You totally had me. So one quick question before we go to questions from the house.
Sure.
So the very significant moment in your career, which I'm sure holds some bittersweet memory for you. 1968, the Major League Baseball Game 5 of the World Series in Detroit. You are invited to perform the national anthem.
I was, and to tell you the truth, the best thing that ever came out of that was when I met my wife, Susan, who started my fan club when she was 14. She was kind of like the way Priscilla Presley was with Elvis. And she was really upset that everybody had criticized me, even singers like Robert Merrill, who sang the national anthem all the time. And I don't have any criticism of Robert. He did good for what he could do. And that's how it goes. And I don't have any bitterness about it anymore. The people of Detroit have welcomed me back. They gave me a standing ovation when I got there, when they announced my name. And I thought, wow, this is strange. To be booed one time and to be welcomed the next. I said, well, I owe it to my wife. That's the reason that happened.
Yeah. Yes. And you did go back in both in 2010 and
Don't
2018.
Cry, Susan.
In 2010 and 2018, you went back to Detroit and you were warmly received. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
no
right
tomatoes, nothing.
Yeah. So we're going to take a couple questions from the house. Yes.
Okay.
Of all the guitars you've owned or played, is there
Favorite guitar? Do you have a favorite guitar?
Well, my favorite guitar will always be the first guitar I ever owned, though I had to borrow. It was given to me by a friend anyway, and her name was Vera, and her husband, Marcel. They were the ones that got me my first Candelas guitar.
Oh, Candelas, yeah.
Yeah. And I love those guitars. I like also another maker. His name is Kurt Sand, and he's in Laguna at Laguna Guitar Shops. This man was born with incredible hands to make guitars. The problem is that we're running out of certain woods, like Brazilian rosewood.
Tone
For
woods.
the top, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, those are the guitars I like. I like good woods, good resonance, and I love my guitar to have perfectly combined bass strings along with the treble.
Perfect. Yes, sir. Right here in the front row. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I'm visually impaired. With your tremendous reputation, and I'm always a fan of yours since childhood. Have you ever pushed for any kind of initiative for the musical electronics producer to think of us folks, to have the produce? It's easier to use for blind people, like keyboard and floor pedals and amps. I love those, but it's
Well,
So let me just repeat for the live stream audience. So this gentleman's asking about audio equipment for the visually impaired.
well, I don't know. I've never seen much. I don't know. I think most of the time when a producer uses a musician, he's not thinking, well, this guy's blind, maybe I shouldn't use him. Because if that particular person is bright and knows how to play his instrument, he won't have any problems.
So last question for you. I mentioned in the open 9 Grammy Awards, Lifetime Achievement Award. What does that kind of recognition mean to you?
Well, I love it because I showed the sighted world that I have value, that I have cachet. So in that sense, I'm very proud of what I've done because the sighted world has always tried to pigeonhole me, and I've avoided that by being me. And I'm happy about that.
Well, here. Well, we couldn't be happier to have you here at the Grammy Museum tonight. We thank you very much for taking the time to chat. More importantly, we want to hear a little bit of music. So, ladies and gentlemen, José Feliciano.
Thank you.
Jose, thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.
That was
Thank
awesome.
you.